Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the Vapormax 2020 Flyknit and the original Vapormax. So if you guys want to cop either of these shoes, I'll leave a link in the description box. The Vapormax 2020 is going for $230 freaking, and then the original Vapormax I believe retailed for $200. So yeah, very expensive shoes, and just knowing that it's like a little piece of yarn and just plastic, kind of like, I'm like, that's kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? You know, like, how much do you guys think Nike pays to make this, as far as just like no R&D, but just the materials, just straight up raw materials? Probably cost Nike like 10 bucks, right? But anyways, let's get it started off with the outsole. So the cool thing about the Vapormax 2020 is that basically 50% of the shoe by weight is recycled material. The original Vapormax didn't have any recycled material, so that's, I guess, another plus for the Vapormax 2020 if you guys do care about the planet and stuff. The actual outsole pattern is a little different. I didn't like the original Vapormax because it slid out on, like, I didn't really have any problems with like concrete and I guess on wood floors. Like, it slid around a little bit on wood floors, but it wasn't horrible. But then on tiled surfaces, it would just slide out like crazy. And of course, that's just me walking around at the mall, because most malls have like tiled surfaces, you know? But also another difference is that if you look at the original Vapormax, there are these rubber tips here in the forefoot. Like, there's 4 of them, and then in the heel there's a large one like at the tip of the heel. In the 2020 version, you can see the actual recycled parts on the outsole. I feel like this is plastic though, recycled plastic. I don't think it's rubber. It doesn't really feel like rubber. It feels pretty much the same. I could be wrong, but I'm just going off like how it feels. And also the tread is a lot thicker and a little bit harder. Like, the original one had really small little rectangles. All right, moving on to the cushioning. So of course, both of the shoes are using Vapormax technology, basically just Air Max. And the Vapormax 2020 is lower to the ground. It has a lower profile than the original one. So I could feel a little bit of a difference, like especially here in the heel. The original Vapormax has a little bit more compression. Don't get me wrong, the 2020 still is insane. Like, the thing is, I didn't really notice it when I just had the Vapormax 2020 on my foot. Like, I noticed it when I was comparing both of these. You know, I had this on one foot and this on the other. That's when I noticed the difference. So you're really not going to notice the lower profile in the Vapormax 2020 all too much. But in the forefoot is where I really noticed the difference. So in the original Vapormax, it looks like cow udders and it's separated a lot. So I couldn't really feel the compression as much in the original Vapormax in the forefoot. But then here in the 2020 version, they kind of like joined it together, and there's an insane amount of compression in the forefoot. I actually kind of like it. On the lateral side, as well as on the medial side where the ball of your foot is, there's a lot of compression in the sexy time, you know what I'm saying? So because of that, I feel like I like the Vapormax 2020 cushioning setup a little bit more. And then if you look at the insole in the original Vapormax, it's not that nice. It's basically, look at that, it's styrofoam basically. It sucks. But in the 2020 version, not only is it like 50% recycled materials, but it's really soft and it actually improves the step and comfort. So I'm actually glad that they did that. And I feel like the step and comfort is better in the Vapormax 2020. So in my opinion, I like the Vapormax 2020 cushioning setup better than the original one. All right, moving on to the materials. They're both using Flyknit, but it's a little bit different. So if you look at the original one, it's actually stretchy. There's a little bit of stretch to it, and I like that a little bit better than the 2020 version. The 2020 version, there's just barely a little bit of stretch. In the original Vapormax, it feels like they put a little bit of like spandex into the material so that it stretches a little bit more. And of course, I guess we'll tie ventilation into this. So if you look at the original one, you can see all these ventilation holes, and if you blow through it, you can feel all that airflow. The Vapormax 2020, there's not as much airflow. Like, don't get me wrong, the ventilation is still really good, but just not as good as the original Vapormax. Of course, it's super hot, it's summer right now, and if you want the more like ventilated shoe, I would suggest going with the original one. But like I said, the 2020 is still really good. And then as far as the thickness goes, they're both super duper thin. There's no underlaying materials or anything. So I would say I like the original Vapormax materials a little bit better. Of course, the lacing system and I guess putting the shoe on is pretty different in both of the shoes. So the original Vapormax, I guess the ankle collar is stretchy. You know, you have this stretchy knit material, but there's no heel tab. It's like, it's not difficult to put on, but it's harder than the 2020 version. So you have like this pull tab here, and also I guess I forgot to mention the foam here in 2020 is a lot better than the original Vapormax. There's absolutely no padding in the original one. So in the ankle part is a little bit more comfortable because of the padding, and the heel tab makes the shoe way easier to put on than the original one. And not only that, you have this Flyknit system, or I guess the fast fit system, whatever you want to call it. It's basically the same thing. I never really had a problem with the original Vapormax because it was such a good fit, which we'll get into, that, you know, after I just slid it on, and I like, this is very loosely tied on. Like, I just never worried about tying the laces, you know. And you can do the same thing with the Vapormax 2020. It's a shoe that has a good enough fit. It kind of like stretches over your foot a little bit, not as much as the original one, but it still does. And then you can just slide it on, you're good to go. You don't even need to tighten the laces, and that's really something that I want in my casual shoes. But of course, if you do want to tighten it, you can with the Flyknit technology. You just pull this tab here in the back, and if you want to take it off, you just pull this pull tab on the tongue. It says release, and you're good to go. Take it off, or just slide it off, you know. Super easy. The original Vapormax, if you want to tighten it, it's a little bit more cumbersome with the laces. All right, moving on to the fit. I went true to size for both of the shoes, and they both fit me really well. I love how the shoes fit on my foot. Very snug, especially with this Flyknit material, and that's just how I like it. My foot's basically right at the edge. There's really no dead space. I would say there's a little bit more dead space here in the toe box area in the 2020, just a tiny bit more. It's a little bit more snug in the original one, and I would say width-wise, they're both pretty damn narrow. So just watch out if you're a wide footer. All right, moving on to the weight. I feel like the original one's gonna be a little bit lighter, but they're both super duper light. The Vapormax 2020 is basically 10 ounces, and then the original one is probably like 9 point something. Oh my, 7.81 ounces. Yeah, so this is way lighter. That's kind of surprising. Actually, maybe not. I mean, the 2020 version has this crazy heel clip. Obviously has a Flyknit technology and a little bit more foam here in the ankle area, which I feel like is a nice addition because it feels nice in the ankle area. So yeah, the original Vapormax is more minimal, obviously, and lighter, but I like the extra padding, and I guess the tongue is a little bit more well padded. I mean, it's not really. The tongue is basically just like this rubber turf material that's recycled, of course, but it's thicker than, I guess, the tongue in the original Vapormax, which is basically just the really thin Flyknit. All right, moving on to the aesthetics. I like the 2020 version better. The only thing I like better on the original Vapormax is the laces. Like, to be honest, I don't like the look of the Flyknit technology as much, but that's just me personally. I feel like I like the knit pattern a little bit better in the 2020. And I also really like the Vapormax unit. Like, if you look at the original one, like in the forefoot, this looks like cow udders. I really didn't like that. But then they joined together the Vapormax unit here in the forefoot of the 2020 Vapormax. It just looks way better in my opinion. So tell us what you guys think down in the comment section below. What looks better? So wrapping things up, I definitely feel like the Vapormax 2020 is an improvement basically in every aspect. You know, the cushioning in the heel is a little bit lower profile, but it's still insane. But then you get a little bit more compression here in the forefoot, and the addition of this insole in the 2020 Vapormax makes the overall step and comfort a lot more comfortable than the original one. And of course, you got the Flyknit technology, you got the extra foam in the ankle area, and I feel like it looks a little bit better as well. So basically in almost every category, every aspect, I feel like the 2020 is overall the better shoe. So that about wraps up this comparison. If you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I'll try to leave a link in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.